Two, one. Hello and welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Absolutely delighted today to be joined by Ra Hokum. Ra, thank you so much for joining me today. We're here for final predictions. It's the monster Naira Inoue against Louis Nery. Ra, thank you so much, as I said, for joining me. And we'll fly straight into things here. When you seen this fight announced, what were your sort of initial thoughts? Obviously there's a bit of a needle with Louis Nery being banned from fighting in Japan for a period. What was your sort of first reaction to this being announced?
Very happy that it got made. I was happy to hear Inoue was staying at super bantamweight for a couple of fights, as he said he would, because obviously the normal practice is fight becomes undisputed. They think, oh, cleaned up the division, move on. Much as I'm looking forward to seeing Inoue up at featherweight as well, I do think there's unfinished business at super bantamweight. I do think an undisputed champ, if there are some good contenders, very good contenders, it's worth them hanging around. And yeah, because of the needle involved with Luis Nery, yeah, really happy to see this. And I think, as we're going to come to later, I think that there's going to be something special being seen here.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there. Inoue we've seen now as a four-weight world champion, undisputed in two weights. It's a case of he wants to hang around, sweep up the division, fight all the names, and move through. So I definitely think it's a big fight. Do you think the added needle with Luis Nery's obviously suspension previously from the Japanese board, do you think that's gonna change Inoue's game plan? Do you think that's going to affect his team's preparation at all, or do you think it will just be business as usual?
From the sounds of it, yes, I do think so. I think Inoue has alluded to this in the past, which for Japanese fighters, that's something off key because they usually keep it very professional.
Mhm.
Um, but I think because of what he did to a Japanese hero, the way he did it, essentially cheated twice. Um, some people would disagree with that, but I think essentially he cheated twice against Yamanaka and was unapologetic about it. Because of that, I think that extra bit of needle, it will affect how Inoue approaches this. And as we're going to come to, I think it will affect him negatively.
Yeah, I think, like you say, Inoue hasn't exactly been the most outspoken of fighters. It's not something we like, as you alluded to, we don't tend to see from Japanese fighters. And especially the way Louis Nery just sort of, so what, I did it, what are you going to do about it, sort of thing. It's happened, ban me, so what? I think that has added that little extra bit of oomph that maybe we've missed from the last couple of Inoue fights. Stephen Fulton was supposed to be the man that was going to come in and derail the train almost, and we've seen what happened there. What do you, without going too much into your prediction, Ra, what do you think Louis Nery has to do to stop the train in essence with Naira Inoue? Because we've seen Daenerys done all right in the first fight. Stephen Fulton had little bits and bobs of success, but we haven't really seen someone. Obviously, we've seen people land punches on him, but we haven't really seen someone grab the ball by the horn sort of thing. Almost sort of like Munguia with Canelo last night. Although Canelo got the victory, Munguia came straight out the blocks, fired at him, and tried to make it a firefight. Do you think that's something Louis Nery has to do? Come in and take the fight to Naira Inoue?
Yes, and I think this could be where in a way is now maybe starting to his success might almost start to work against him. I do believe that when a fighter has got so used to having things their own way, they almost get out of the habit of psychologically being able to sort of up the gear mentally, not physically. You can bet your life he'll have gone through every bit of training as meticulously as he always has. But on fight night, that psychological ability to sort of go up a gear, realizing, right, I'm in a fight, my mental focus, it's got to be that much higher. I've got to be prepared to go through things, like he maybe did against Donaire. I think when a fighter's gone through such a long period of domination, they get out of that habit. So when they come up against someone who will stick it on them, won't just fall over, or isn't visibly hurt by his punches the way he's used to, that can throw them psychologically. I'm not saying he's gonna, suddenly lose heart or whatever, but just that fraction of a second of overthinking things, second guessing things a bit more than they were used to. Obviously, at that level, that can make the difference. So I do think Nery early on has to do what I think he will do, and that is land something that at the very least gets Inoue's attention and maybe gets him thinking just that half a second more than he's used to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you're spot on there. I think from what we've seen in Inoue's career so far, when people have landed on him, no one's really sort of tested his chin, and it's almost a case of anger in the monster. And when they've landed, they get 5, 6, 7 punch flurry back. And then we all know how that ends if you let Inoue sort of let him on the inside, let him land, and if he lands clean, I don't think there's anyone at those weights that are realistically taking the power. Ra. So final predictions. We know you can be a bit outlandish with your predictions. So I'll let you take the floor. How do you think Naoya Inoue versus Louis Nery is going to end?
Well, we've just had the weigh-in I think it's just over an hour ago. One thing I was surprised by is that Nery came in on weight. Um, but all through the build-up, right up until the weigh-in, it looks like he's fully focused. The vibe I'm getting from Nery is he's really chippy about it, the way he was ridiculed. As most people with a chip on their shoulder, they don't realize you're the cause of the ridicule you're getting. But he probably at some level thinks he's not been respected as a fighter because of that, and he's been tarnished unfairly. I think as much as Inoue wants to punish him, I think Nery is coming back to Japan to make a point. And sometimes a fighter who hasn't looked great in the past, as he hasn't, and most notably getting knocked out to the body by Figueroa, they can be obsessed with a particular fighter, and it might be a particularly great fighter. And I think he's like that with Inoue. Um, so I do see him coming out, putting on the fight of his life. Yes, he will have to dig in deeper than he's ever had to take shots that that has been harder than anything he's probably taken in his career. But I think psychologically he is ready for that. But Inoue isn't. I think Inoue is coming into this fight thinking, I'm going to punish this guy for what he did to our hero. And he's going to get an unpleasant surprise when he realizes the punishment isn't having the effect that it's had on every other fighter. We have seen slight signs, very, very slight signs that at the higher weight, he's not quite as destructive. Yes, he's don't get it twisted. I'm not saying he ain't got knockout power, but he's had to work a bit harder at super bantamweight to get guys out. It's not like when he was at bantamweight when he fought Manny Rodriguez, that first left hook that landed, the shock on Rodriguez's face. You aren't getting that at super bantamweight. The guys are hanging in there. What they've not been able to do is land back with any significance. Last time at Tapales did have him rocked very slightly.
Mhm.
Because of that, I think Inoue isn't invincible at this weight, and I think what we're going to see is a performance of his life from Nery, and he's going to make it very, very competitive. Now, when I spoke to your colleague Niall, I went as far as to say it's Nery's going to pull off the upset. I don't know whether I've got the guts to repeat that because it's in Japan in front of 55,000. I wouldn't say roaring Japanese because they're generally quite quiet and polite, but in front of Inoue's home fans, can he actually get a decision? It's a very tall order, so I'll scale back my prediction and say it will be a very competitive points win for Inoue, one that Nery will go away saying he got robbed.
Mhm.
And it might even set up a rematch for later on back in California or Las Vegas. But I'm going to go controversial split decision for Inoue after a very competitive fight.
Wow. Yeah, I think to say Louis Nery would get the decision, whether you actually believe he will get the decision or not, like as you say, is another question. Um, I think unless Louis Nery gets 5 or 6 knockdowns, is he realistically going to get the decision? Highly, highly unlikely. Um, I think, like you say, I do think Louis Nery is going to bring the fight. I think he's going to bring the fight early. And although I do agree, Inoue hasn't been as destructive, and it'll be interesting to see if he goes what his power's like when he goes up to featherweight. Um, I do think Inoue is going to stop Louis Nery early, and I think that's purely because I think they're just going to go toe to toe from round one. Could be very wrong. It could be a great boxing match. But I think we're just going to see a war. I think Inoue is going to try and do it for his people, for his country. And I think, like you say, Louis Nery is coming to be the bad guy again, coming to be the boogeyman in Japan. He's coming to get booed. So I think he's just going to say almost straight off, button heads, let's go. And I just think Inoue's power will carry him through compared to Louis Nery's. So for the viewers watching, and obviously all of our content, you'll have seen Ra's video with Niall and his thoughts on that. Let us know what you think, guys. We've got two opposite predictions. In a sense, I've gone for a very early stoppage, sort of rounds 1 to 4 for Naira Inoue, and Ra has put his neck on the line with a extremely close split decision points victory for Naira Inoue. Let us know down in the comments below what you think, guys. If you think we're both wrong, and if you think Louis Nery can knock Naira Inoue out, if you think Louis Nery will come away with a comfortable points decision. As I say, like, comment, subscribe. Let me and Ra know in the comments if either of us are correct and if any of you got on maybe a little £5 bet here or there. Ra, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks, Owen.